Well, motherfucks, it's your boy the hater once again. And because we're coming up to the end of the year, which of course means it's almost time for Hater Mania up in this bitch, and we might start Hater Mania a little early this year, I've just been really bored with wrestling as well, and I haven't been making any videos. I mean, honestly, I went to this place that I hang out at sometimes yesterday, and I saw one of my friends. He's a wrestling guy as well. And he was watching something on YouTube or some bullshit, and it was like Jay Lethal in AEW, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, what? He's like, you didn't watch Full Gear? And I'm like, what? And I completely forgot that Full Gear was happening last weekend. Now, this Friday, I'm going on vacation, so I'm basing my forgetfulness on the fact that I have to do all this bunch of shit before I go to vacation, like pack and buy presents for people and all these other things, right? So maybe that's why I forgot, but it's weird because I never forget about big-time wrestling pay-per-views. So there's two explanations. Either AEW Full Gear was not a big-time wrestling pay-per-view, and that's why I forgot, or, motherfucks, I have a lot of things in my mind. I've been pretty busy with work as well, so who the fuck knows, right? Nonetheless, after talking to my friend, I went home and I watched Full Gear up in this bitch. So we're going to do a late Full Gear review. You know, I knew when I started watching this that this would be another one of these critically acclaimed pay-per-views by the nerds, you know? That doesn't mean anything to me. I couldn't give a fuck about that. However, I'm going to talk about the good and the bad, as usual, motherfucks. And I'm going to start by talking about the pre-show match that I didn't watch. But I'm going to talk about it for one reason only. It was Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa versus Jamie Hayter and Nyla Rose. Like, I was thinking about making a video about top 10 worst debuts or top 10 worst returns. And I'm pretty sure Jamie Hayter would be the worst one of all time. Like, when this bitch came back with her hat and took it off, like, we're supposed to know who the fuck she is. Like, nobody knows this broad at all. You know? Like, not one person was like, oh, look, it's Jamie Hayter. Like, nobody knew. You know? The ego on this broad to act as if we care and know about like, who the fuck she is and where the fuck she's been is preposterous. So that's the only reason why I want to talk about this. This was on the pre-show where it belongs, motherfucks. Next up, we had Darby Allin versus MJF. Now, I watched this match in its entirety because it was the first match. I really, really enjoyed it, motherfucks. I thought it was one of the best matches in all of AEW history, and here's why. Everything in the match made sense, right? So, you had motherfucks like Darby Allin. You know, every match of Darby Allin is, will Darby Allin hit the coffin drop? And if he does, is he going to win or not? Most likely, if he hits it, he's going to win. But sometimes this asshole will hit it on the outside or in some weird way. But generally speaking, the entire Darby match psychology is Darby Allin hits the coffin drop, and that's the end of that, motherfucks. This, however, was balanced with MJF working his knee. Like, MJF's knee was hurt due to a variety of moves that Darby Allin did. So MJF made sure to sell all of his knee moves, right? There was a point where he did a tombstone on Darby Allin on the apron, right? Now, typically in a typical match, in my opinion, this should be like the end of the match. But because MJF's knee hurt and he jumped onto his own knee, you know what I mean? Like, he was too hurt to capitalize on the moment. It was a nice touch that should be in every wrestling match. Same thing. MJF would raise up his knees in order to, like, counter Darby Allin's coffin drop, right? And he would hurt his knee, right? There was a point in this match. The match wrestled and developed in a way that made sense in the context of the match. It wasn't just this random bullshit. And then, in the end, Darby Allin, the end was probably the worst part, but once again, it fit in with the logic of the match. In the end, Darby Allin basically like was given a skateboard by MJF, and MJF was like, hit me with it, right? So you get disqualified. Darby Allin refused to hit him with it. The referee turned around and grabbed the skateboard to take it out. For some reason, Darby Allin turned around with him. I don't know why. Darby Allin turned around, MJF hit him with the ring, and then did like a side headlock and pinned him, right? Which was also symbolic because they kept talking about how like he can't get out of a side headlock. That's how much he sucks. So the match was good, but the problem with the match, and one thing that I will say about this match that I also liked is that it could have gone either way. You know what I mean? I thought MJF was going to win, but it wouldn't be shocking if Darby Allin won. So with all this in mind, motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? This match was good for the fact that it wasn't predictable, and the match made sense. It wasn't goofy like I was told it was. it was pretty good, but it wasn't fucking great either, you know? Like, the moves were kind of boring and stiff. There were a few good moves, you know, but it was kind of slow. And, you know, it went on like 25 minutes. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it personally. I thought it was probably the best match on the card, if I'm being honest, you know? Next up, we have the Lucha Bros versus FTR. This was a long-ass match. It felt like it took 2 hours, and it wasn't very entertaining. You know, the finish of this match was really, really stupid. Like, first of all, throughout the match, everyone's kicking out of everything, all right? This is what happens when you have weekly TV shows where people kick out of finishers regularly, right? It devalues the finisher, so now even doing a spike pile driver isn't enough to pin Ray Phoenix, who's a jobber, you know? So, and the same thing on the other side, you know, like they did everything. There was a few key botches, right, that really, really ruined the aesthetic of the match. Now, I'm not going to focus on them too much, but I'll talk about one, that's for sure. There was a point where Ray Phoenix was supposed to do a double stomp onto, like, one of the jabrones while Pentagon is holding him in the package pile driver position. Now, you could tell, based on the layout of the ring, there was a guy behind Pentagon, that Phoenix was going to jump on this guy's ass, do the double foot stomp, and then jump and do a crossbody or something else on the other guy. Now, in order to do this, you need perfect timing, right? Unfortunately, Pentagon, and even though Ray Phoenix, in my opinion, is the best, like, you know, quote-unquote luchador-style wrestler, they're just not that good. Like, they just aren't that good. It's really that simple. Like, they'll never be good enough to pull this off. Like, if you had, like, if Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle were doing this, it would come off amazing, right? But instead, it's Penta El Zero Miedo and Ray Phoenix, right? So, like, Ray Phoenix jumps on the ass of the guy while he's on the pile driver position, and then successfully is able to jump and crossbody the other guy. However, Penta, instead of dropping into the pile driver, waits like 35 minutes, you know? He waits, like, honestly, like at least 2 or 3 seconds, right? So, 2 or 3 seconds after Ray Phoenix jumps off the guy's ass, then he gets pile driven, which pretty much ruins the whole point of the double foot stomp, right? If the guy's going to double foot stomp and Pentagon is not going to use that extra force to pile drive the guy, furthermore, if the extra force isn't powerful enough, period, to drive someone down, I mean, I think that's enough said right there, right? Like, it really devalues the finisher. So basically, it's just turned into a single-man pile driver, and it was still not enough to pin, like, whatever, Dax Harwood or whatever the fuck it was. The match then ends in the dumbest of ways. The long-haired one puts on the mask of the Super Ranas. Right? He comes in there, even though he looks like completely different from the other guy who's bald, right? Like, they have tattoos, and you can see the hair from the back of his mask. It's a completely different person. He wears the Super Ranas mask, and the announcers kept saying, like, oh, he's trying to distract the referee, but he's not the legal man. This backfires, and he gets pinned after this shitty DDT, like, double team maneuver that the Lucha Bros do. It was really dumb. He gets pinned. The referee doesn't realize he's not the legal man somehow. I mean, it's really dumb because it's like you can obviously tell it was him. But anyways, it is what it is. The match was dumb. I don't like the direction of Lucha Brothers as tag team champions. They feel like traditional champions, in my opinion, so I don't really care. Next up, we had Bryan Danielson versus Miro, which was stupid. This was a horrible match. This was a 0-star match. And it's a 0-star match for one reason only. Miro would destroy Daniel Bryan in real life. The end. It's as simple as that. Miro, like, this is even less believable than Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. Because, in my opinion, Miro would destroy Roman Reigns. Miro looks like a monster, all right? Daniel Bryan is a little pipsqueak. Daniel Bryan cannot beat, like, the average tough guy at a bar. And he's out there destroying Miro. This was embarrassing, and it was stupid. And he won by technical submission with some bullshit guillotine-type choke, right? It was really dumb. Miro should have destroyed him in about 3 minutes. Also, the match is even dumber because we all knew that Miro had no chance of winning. Miro's career is done, motherfucks. Miro is on his way to be a tag team jobber. Before you know it, he'll have a comedy character, and he'll start talking about Miro Day. You'll see. It's gonna fucking happen, motherfucks. It's gonna happen. His career is paralleling his WWE career very, very well. Think about it. He came in, he was a big deal, and now he's losing to mid-carders. Except in WWE, he was a bigger deal, motherfucks. So there you have it. Next up, we had a pretty good match. Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express versus the Super Clique. Now, this match was good for what it was, right? Like, it was a street fight or whatever, a false count anywhere, which was a good idea. Because a lot of these multiple men matches turn into false count anywhere type matches where everyone's in the ring at the same time and people are fighting outside the ring anyways, right? The match ended by the apron. There was a good sequence of moves. It made Christian Cage and Jurassic Express look strong because the Super Click are like a big deal. There was a lot of good spots. There was a lot of stupid shit too. Like, for example, at one point, the Super Click puts on these knee pads with thumbtacks on them. It was really stupid. You know? Like, they all just sat down and started putting on knee pads in the middle of the match. You know? Like, the BTE trigger is already considered a move that no one kicks out of. So there was no point in doing this at all, other than to hurt them. That was really dumb. I didn't like that at all. Anyways, who gives a flying fuck? The match was good for what it was. It put over Jungle Boy. I thought the match ended with Christian Cage getting 2 chairs so he could concerto one of the Young Bucks, and he sets it up, but Jungle Boy decides to do the concerto and pins the guy. And it was a good moment. I liked it. Next up, we have Cookie Rhodes and Pac versus Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. This felt like a pre-show match. Don't know why. Pac is good. I like him. I've always liked Pac for what he was. Cody Rhodes, Malachi Black, and Andrade, they're all average. Like, they're not bad. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of wrestling. Like, I mean, obviously, Cookie Rhodes is like the worst thing to ever happen in wrestling as a concept. But as a wrestler, Cookie Rhodes is an okay wrestler, right? Malachi Black is okay. Like, he's better than, you know, he's better than Karrion Kross, right? I always compare him with Karrion Kross. He's better than Karrion Kross. He's better than Keith Lee. Like, obviously, like, Malachi Black is better than these jabrones, right? And so is Andrade. But that's about it. Like he's better than those guys, and he's worse than Matt Riddle. You know what I mean? Like, Matt Riddle is a much better wrestler than Malachi Black, Andrade El Idolo, and Cody Rhodes and Pac, if I'm being honest. He's just more athletic. You know, you can tell the difference of athleticism. Like, the fact that Matt Riddle just does moves consistently and never botches, right? The point I'm trying to make is this felt like a mid-card match because that's what it was. This was the kind of match that would be a mid-card match on an episode of SmackDown. It'd be like in the first hour, like around 8:30, you would see this match. That's all this was. There wasn't anything special. You know? Like, none of these guys, like, I understand that they're supposed to be big deals in AEW, but they're just not big deals. Malachi Black, like I said, he's already on his way out. Like, he's already on the same level as Aleister Black. He won his first few matches, now he's already losing. So who cares? That's what happened with that. Then we had Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Tai Conchi. Now, I like Tai Conchi. She's cool. But the problem with this match, again, is that we all knew Britt Baker was going to win. Britt Baker is having a very uninspired title reign. You know, she's not good. She's just not good, motherfuckers. Like, yes, she's better than most of the women in AEW. And you might even argue most of the women, period. But she's not good. She's botchy. Her promo delivery skills are shit. They're good compared to women, but they're shit. You know, she really hangs on this DMD catchphrase. Like, it's not clever, you know? Like, that's actually her title. It's fucking stupid, you know? But anyways, it is what it is. She hangs out with Rebel and Jamie Hayter, too, so, you know, that makes her much more hateable, in my opinion. Who gives a flying fuck? Britt Baker wins. Next up, we had CM Punk and Eddie Kingston in a match that went exactly like I thought it would. They're beating the shit out of each other. CM Punk eventually hits 2 go-to-sleeps and pins Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is defiant the whole time. Needless to say, the CM Punk experiment has failed. People were booing CM Punk. They were booing him, motherfuckers. I saw it clear as day. When he picked up, Eddie Kingston for the second GTS, yeah, like, people were booing him because I guess they like Eddie Kingston more. I mean, CM Punk represents the establishment anyway, so it was what it was. Next up, we have the Inner Circle versus the Men of the Year, an American Top Team. A lot of people were talking about how good Junior Dos Santos was. I wasn't impressed, motherfuckers. I wasn't. He and Andre Arlovski as well both came off as awkward. You know, I understand these guys aren't wrestlers, but they are athletes, right? They're just, unfortunately, they're not that athletic. It's really that simple. Junior Dos Santos, Andre Arlovski, 99% of UFC fighters, especially heavyweights, are not that athletic. So they come off as awkward. Like, they can hit hard, right? And they can get hit. They're more like tough men than they are like athletes, you know? So, like, you know, this showed. Junior Dos Santos, he has some athleticism in him, like, inherently, but he's awkward. He's not coordinated, you know? And again, for what he was doing and for what Andre Arlovski were doing, it was fine. You know, the highlight of the match here clearly was Dan Lambert. You know, Dan Lambert comes in, Jericho whoops his ass. There's a part where Junior Dos Santos, like, interferes and Lambert almost pins Jericho. But in the end, motherfuckers, Jericho wins, bitch boys. I forget what he did. Did he hit the Judas effect? I don't even remember. Or did he put the walls? I don't remember. I don't know. Oh no, he hit the frog splash. Yeah, it was actually quite a moment. He hit the frog splash and then looked at the sky and said, "I miss you, Eddie," or some other bullshit. You know, like everyone loves Eddie Guerrero, but like it's time to like move on, guys. It's been 16, 17 years since he's died. Paying tribute to him with a frog splash 16 years later is a little excessive, if you ask me, in a different company. But nonetheless, it's nice to see. You know, who doesn't like Eddie Guerrero? Next up, we had the main event: Hangman Adam Cook versus Kenny Omega. All right. This match was garbage. I hated every second of it, and here's why. It was exactly what you thought it would be. This back and forth counter fest, right? Eventually, we had the obligatory Kenny Omega does a lot of knees to the face of the other guy while the other guy counters with his striking move moments, you know? Like he did this with Okada in New Japan, where like he would do a knee, Okada would do a clothesline. He would do a knee, Okada would do a clothesline. He would do a knee, Okada would do 2 clotheslines. Kenny Omega would kick out, do 3 knees, 2 clotheslines, 1 knee, 1 clothesline, Rainmaker, V-Trigger, same shit, right? You know, and then these would get like 7 stars. It's just a bunch of guys doing the same move over and over again, you know? It's nothing good. This is what happened here too, you know? But by far, the worst part of this was the fact that the Young Bucks had to be put in the center of this moment. I don't know why. You know, it would have been better if the Young Bucks remained consistent and tried to stop Kenny Omega. Stop Adam Page, and then the Dark Order could come out and destroy Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, or maybe just the Young Bucks, right? To give off that moment that they tried to get afterwards, right? I understand what they were going for. Obviously, the concept here was that what's it called? The Young Bucks, they like, to a certain extent, they like fucking Hangman Page, right? They respect him. He is their friend, you know, through and through. So they want him to have his moment, you know? Or at the very, very least, they don't want to ruin his moment, you know? That was the philosophy behind this situation, right? But there's a problem with that. It's inconsistent with what the Young Bucks were doing like an hour before that, where they're putting on knee pads with thumbtacks. These guys are supposed to be heels. The same people that want to thumbtack someone in the face multiple times cannot be the people that then say, this guy deserves it. Why doesn't Jungle Boy deserve it? You know? Why are they going after him, right? So that's what I'm getting at, motherfucks. This was a really, really shitty moment, and it was an attempt to have like a curtain call MSG moment almost, right? Where it's like it was like a form of breaking kayfabe. You know, the Young Bucks were there not as like the Young Bucks, the characters. They were there as like whatever the fuck their real names are. You know, like half in character and half not, right? Because there was like a moment they're like, go ahead, like do it, like, you know, like win the title, bro, right? And then the other side, it was like, okay, like we've held you back, but like you deserve it, you know, go ahead, right? It was inconsistent. So the only explanation here is that tomorrow, because it's Tuesday today, motherfucks, that tomorrow the Young Bucks turn face. That's the only thing that can happen. If they don't do that, then like this made no sense, you know? Or they like pretend they turn face and then they turn heel and they screw Adam Page off of his title, right? Like that's possible too. Because I personally believe that Adam Page is going to be a transitional champion. You know, like he's one of those guys that you like build him up. He's like a Chris Benoit. Like Chris Benoit had like, you know, one of the best pushes of all time. He was pushed organically, right? And he was pushed correctly back when he won the Rumble. And then he became champion. He had like a pretty decent run, but you can only refer to him as a transitional champion. His purpose was to bridge the gap between the title reigns of Triple H and Randy Orton. That was his purpose. Let's be honest, motherfuckers. You know? So there you have it, cucks. That's what I think is going to happen with Adam Page. I think he's going to lose the title to probably Kenny Omega, if I'm being honest. But he might lose the title to, like, Daniel Bryan, right? I don't see him beating Daniel Bryan. I just don't see it happening. I mean, Adam Page at the end of the day is a mid-carder, you know? I like the kid. I always have, if I'm being honest. I mean, for a mid-carder, that is. But what can I do, right? I don't make the rules around here, cuck boys. So that being said, this guy can go get fucked. The show was okay, but it was plagued with a series of predictable matches. Nobody likes that. Nobody cares. Fuck your mothers.